Rain has a strange way of changing lives. That evening, the sky had turned almost black long before sunset. People rushed through the streets, trying to escape the storm. I was standing alone at an old bus stop with a worn-out umbrella that barely kept me dry. Then I noticed her. She stood a few feet away in the pouring rain. Her long hair clung to her face, her light blue dress was soaked, and despite the cold, she didn't move under the shelter. She simply stared at the road as if she was waiting for something, or someone, who would never come. I hesitated for only a second before walking over. "Would you like to share my umbrella?" I asked. She looked into my eyes with quiet surprise. Then she smiled. That single smile would change both of our lives forever. Before we continue this unforgettable story, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more emotional stories. Also, leave a comment telling us which city and country you're watching from. We'd love to know where our amazing viewers are joining us from. She stepped beneath the umbrella, careful not to get too close. "My bus is always late," she said with a nervous laugh. "So is mine," I replied. For a few peaceful minutes, we listened to the rain hitting the pavement. It felt strangely comfortable, like we'd known each other much longer than a few minutes. "My name is Emily," she finally said. "I'm Daniel." She nodded softly, but I noticed something odd. Every few seconds she looked over her shoulder as though she expected someone to appear. "Are you all right?" I asked. She forced another smile. "I'm just having a difficult day." Before I could ask more, thunder echoed across the city. A loud crack of lightning made her jump. Without thinking, she grabbed my arm. Not lightly. Not for balance. She held on as though letting go would send her entire world crashing down. I looked at her, confused. "You can let go," I said gently. She slowly shook her head. "I don't think I can." There was something in her voice that made me stop asking questions. Minutes passed. No buses arrived. The rain became even heavier. Then I noticed tears running down her cheeks. They mixed with the rain so perfectly that almost no one would have realized she was crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I haven't held someone's arm in 3 years." Those words hit me harder than I expected. She explained that 3 years earlier, her husband had passed away unexpectedly. Ever since then, she'd lived alone. She avoided people. She stopped trusting strangers. That morning she had received a letter saying the apartment she'd lived in for years was being sold, and she'd have to move within 30 days. It feels like I'm losing the last place where I still felt close to him. I didn't know what to say. Sometimes people don't need advice. Sometimes they only need someone willing to stay. So I stayed. The buses came and went, but we kept talking. She told me about her husband, their dreams, the little cafe they always visited, and the dog they had rescued together. I shared stories about my own lonely life after losing my parents years before. For the first time in a long time, neither of us felt completely alone. Finally, her bus arrived. She looked at it. Then she looked back at me. "I don't want this conversation to end." I smiled. "Then don't let it." She laughed through her tears. That was the first genuine laugh she'd had in years. Before getting on the bus, she surprised me. Instead of taking the umbrella, she held my arm again. "Thank you," she whispered. "You reminded me that kind people still exist." The bus doors closed. She waved until it disappeared into the rain. I honestly believed I'd never see her again. But life wasn't finished writing our story. 1 week later, I returned to the same bus stop at exactly the same time. She was already there. This time she wasn't standing in the rain. She was holding 2 cups of hot coffee. And a brand new umbrella. I figured, she smiled, we might need a bigger umbrella. That became our tradition. Every Friday after work we'd meet at that same bus stop. Coffee. Rain or sunshine. Long conversations. Slow healing. Months later, she confessed something that made my heart stop. The day we met. She paused. I had completely lost hope. I didn't believe anyone cared anymore. She squeezed my hand. But one stranger shared an old umbrella, and somehow gave me back my future. 2 years later, under another gentle rainfall, I stood beside Emily once again. This time, we weren't strangers waiting for separate buses. We were standing together beneath a beautiful white wedding arch. Friends and family smiled as soft rain fell around us. After exchanging our vows, she wrapped her arm around mine exactly the way she had that first evening. Only now, she wasn't holding on because she was afraid. She was holding on because she'd finally found home again. Sometimes love doesn't begin with grand gestures. Sometimes it begins with a small act of kindness. An old umbrella. A rainy bus stop. And someone who simply chooses to stay. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Kindness Studio, give this video a like, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and never underestimate the power of being there for someone when they need it most.